A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. The faithful and the unfaithful servant. Who, then, is the faithful servant and wise servant, whom his master has set over his household, to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant, whom his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, "My master is delayed," and begins to beat his fellow servants, and eats and drinks with the drunken, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will punish him, and put him with the hypocrites. Their men will weep and gnash their teeth. Today is Kohne Sunday. Kohne Sunday is the day on which we remember all the priests who have passed away. This is the reason why we have the reading of faithful and unfaithful servants. Jesus always used stories to give messages in his teaching ministry. These stories are what we call parables. Parables serve two important functions. They function as mirrors and as windows. As we all know, when we look into a mirror, we see ourselves. And so that is exactly what the parable does. Looking deeper into these parables, we will have the opportunity to see and understand ourselves as we really are. Windows have a slightly different function. We can see through windows. So when we look out of the window the parables give, we see and understand life and God. In today's passage, Jesus fixes his attention on the carrying out of our responsibilities. There are three main lessons that are pointed out in this parable. The first lesson is that we have to think ourselves as servants. A lot of the time, when we hear servants of God, we think of angels, prophets, and apostles, missionaries, priests, and preachers. But have you ever thought of yourself as being a servant of God? You know, friends, if you claim yourself a servant of God, you can't be living for yourself anymore. You can't be trying to satisfy your hunger for human desire anymore. If you do that, you'll become an unfaithful servant, like the one that was mentioned in today's passage. As faithful servants of God, we have to be ready to listen to our Master's instructions carefully. We have to give our full obedience to the Lord. And lastly, we have to be ready to give a report of our service to Christ. Here are the things he will be looking for. Have you been doing what you were supposed to do? This leads us to the second lesson we want to learn from this parable. Be faithful throughout your tasks at all times. My friends, we could be really good at our tasks, but if we don't have faith in the Lord, then technically these tasks won't even count. Faithfulness is something a lot of people have failed doing, and when we lose faithfulness, our love grows cold and we slow down. Being a servant of God shouldn't be a part-time job, but instead, it should be something we dedicate our entire lives to. And if you want to be faithful in doing what God wants you to do, you have to learn to use your time and resources wisely. In order to do this, we need wisdom. This brings us to our third and final lesson we will learn from this parable. Live wisely. Something about the servant was mentioned in the parable, and it was that this servant was blessed because he had wisdom and he applied it well. The master was supposed to come by a certain day, but for some reason, he was super late. The servant had a chance to think that the master would not come for a long time, or that he would not come at all. But the faithful and wise servant looked only forward and followed that path. He made all his choices good ones, knowing that one day his master would come back. He chose to do things that would please the master. Once he eventually did come back and took a look at everything. Come on, friends. Let us be wise like this servant. Make all your present choices in the light of the future.